Legulam, and welcome to this lesson. We're going to be studying about the subject of peace and how peace is important, especially on these days. Uh, and the reason, or the reason this lesson is important is because of pretty soon we're gonna be approaching the high holidays. However, this teaching doesn't have to do with the high holidays uh, themselves or anything like that. It has to do with what we're living in our everyday life, especially these days that we have, as of these days, a pandemic, and we have divisions between uh, people who are from different points of view, different ideals, and things like that. Even at this moment, we have people that are arguing over who should wear a mask or not, who should be vaccinated, who wants to be vaccinated, and other people saying, I don't care, if you're vaccinated, I don't want to be vaccinated, and all kind of stuff. And instead of showing support for each other, for the decision of each other as people that, are grown-ups and should be, instead of arguing for silly things like that, even though I say silly, it's not that silly, it's very important. They should be looking at each other with humanity and with love. And what is happening today, there's such a division that any little subject, anything creates a strife, a war between people. People are divided into a right and left. There's no people in the center or anything like that. And those who claim to be in the center, when you really look at it, they also are leaning toward one or the other side. And this is when the word peace comes in. The word peace in Hebrew is the word Shalom. And this word is basically a word that we're gonna be seeing that is much more than such a word. As Jews, we pray a lot for peace. Peace in Jerusalem, peace for Israel, peace for the whole world. Everything is peace, as we're going to see in this teaching. And we want to manifest that as well in the world. And in order to manifest this, we need to make sure that we understand that if we're praying for peace and yet we find ways to divide ourselves, whether it is which religion you are, which gender you are, which party you are, which ideals you have when it comes to politics, which beliefs you have about certain things, whether it is science or philosophy and things like that. If we look always for divisions or the things that divide us instead of the things that unite us, well, we're never going to find peace. We're never going to find that shalom. And we're going to see why it is important to look for that thing that we have in common that is called humanity, that is called, and a deeper level, the soul of Adam, that we're all. And I have heard and I have seen, even people that I know and I consider my friends, fall into the trap of being divisive, simply because they have a different belief or a different point of view about something, and other people have a different point of view of something. They start in their mind criticizing, their mind saying that basically what they're saying is true, but in reality what is true for one person might not be true for another person. We all have different points of view, different ideas of how the world should be, and we want to fix the world, right? Even in Kabbalah, we have our own point of view of how the world should be fixed, right? Through tikkun olam, right? And fixing ourselves in order to fix the soul of Adam. Once we come together as one, then the whole balance of the whole creation will fall into place. That's our point of view. There's other people that don't believe that. There's people, for example, the Christians, they believe that there's a Messiah that is going to come again and they're going to, have then things fixed for them and all that. There's other people that believe otherwise. That there's going to be this big war, and after this big war, that's when we're going to have things fixed. And in reality, all these things, all these ideas, all these assumptions, all these points of view, sometimes bring a war of worlds. The war of words sometimes is more, believe it or not, more bloody than the war that we fight with weapons. And we're going to see how the tongue is so important for what we call the covenant of peace, for the covenant between the Creator and humanity. Why the tongue, the covenant of the tongue, has to do a lot with the covenant of the circumcision, and how they are related, and why we should guard our tongue from judging other people and bringing basically judgment to our reality instead of bringing chesed, which is mercy, to our reality. And we're going to see in this teaching all these things and how important it is basically to guard our tongue. And if you have seen the videos that I have in the weekly portion in the Parsha, you're going to see that I use Rabbi Yaakov Abu Haseira's teachings, and most of the time he talks about guarding the brit, guarding the covenant. And guarding the covenant actually means guarding our tongue and also guarding or circumcision, or the covenant of the circumcision. Okay, so let's start and this teaching, and to understand this, we have to understand that I'm teaching this, from the point of view of Kabbalah, and from the point of view of Rabbi Yaakov Abu Haseira as well. And something that is very important for us as we live in this physical reality is to make sure that we're in the pursuit of that peace, that we're always looking for that peace. That peace is something that is not given, it's something that we must attain through our relationship with others. It's not through our relationship with God. So if you think, and this is sometimes the way we actually lie to ourselves, is that we think that if we are praying every day, we're doing all the commandments, or it doesn't matter which religion you practice everything that religion tells you to do in order to connect with the Creator, that's all you need to do, and you'll be okay with the Creator. And in reality, it's not like that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your relationship with others. It has to do with what we call the golden rule. To do to others the same way you would like them to do to you. Or don't do to others something or things that you don't like them to do to you. And in Kabbalah, and also in Judaism, we actually use those words, but we use one in specific, which is love your neighbor as yourself, love your friend as yourself. And with that, or in that basically small sentence, is encapsulate basically the whole teaching of Kabbalah and the whole Torah, which is, if you have a good relationship with your neighbor, with your friend, and you try your best to find the things that unite you with this friend or neighbor, you will see that you will achieve peace. And peace is basically something, as we're going to see, is completeness. We're putting together a puzzle, and once a puzzle is complete, it forms a soul that was broken in the time of what we call Bereshit, in the beginning, when Adam sinned, right? Once we have that completeness, that Shalom, right, we're gonna see that in reality, what we were doing, we were working in a relationship not only with our neighbor, but a relationship with God. And there's 3 steps, or actually 2 steps that will lead you to a 3rd step. In order to love God, first you have to love yourself, because you cannot give that you don't have. So you have to love yourself. Once you love yourself, you're gonna find that you will start seeing in others what you see in you. If you see in others only faults, only things that are negative and that kind of stuff, that's exactly what is inside you. You're manifesting outside, or you're seeing outside in other people the things that are inside you. So, and that's a trap, that we always follow. We always seeing others what is negative. We always seeing others the things that we don't or would not like, to see in them, without looking at us, that we're the ones that are actually projecting that negativity to our other fellow human beings, right? So first, love yourself. Accept everything, the good and the bad, right? The good, keep working on it. The bad, work on it in order to transform it into something better. And you will see that that relationship with yourself will manifest into a better relationship with others. And things will start falling in place. Once you start working with that relationship of yourself and others, then you can say that you are starting a relationship with God, with the Creator. Okay? Because you cannot just jump over everybody else and think, I'm going to be the first one to connect to God and forget about the rest, because that's not how spirituality works. Spirituality is not egoistic. Spirituality is something that is altruistic. It's something that is always looking for, basically, nothing gets wasted. Everything is saved somehow by the Creator Himself. So first, have a good relationship with you, a good relationship with the other human beings, and that, we always say other human beings, but that means also having a good relationship with the whole nature. You gotta make sure that you're not treating the planet like it is a trash can or anything like that. That you're treating other living beings or creatures in the world, in the planet that we're living, like if they're less important than a human being. Those things are important to have in mind, and then we can say, I have a good relationship, I have love for the Creator, genuinely, right? So let's start looking at a specific text that we're going to be reading a lot from in order to understand the pursuit of peace. And this text is called Masechet Derech Eretz. So it's a tractate about the path towards the land. Which land? The land of Israel. Okay, so Eretz means Israel, the land of Israel. And we'll find inside that tractate a chapter called Perek Shalom, chapter of peace. And in that chapter of peace is dedicated mostly about the word shalom and the meaning behind the word shalom, and how in there we're gonna see that it says, so great is peace, that Kadosh Baruch Hu is called by the name of peace, as it is written, He called Him Hashem Shalom, right? So we're gonna read a little bit from it, and we're going to then discuss what we're reading. So it says in Tractate Derech Eretz Suta, Perek Shalom, Bar Kabbalah said, great is peace, for even the angels, among whom there is no enmity, jealousy, hatred, strife, and rivalry, or dissension, have need for the Holy One, blessed be He, to make peace among them. As it is said, the amended text of Gra is follow: dominion, which is Moshal, and fear, Pachad, are with Him. He maketh peace in high places, as it is said in Job 25, verse 2. Dominion, Moshal, this actually has to do with what is called the Chesed side, and fear, Pachat, has to do with the judgment side. Dominion alludes to Michael, and fear to Gabriel, one being of fire and the other one of water. The Midrash Rabbah, Numbers 12:8, where Gabriel is said to be of fire and Michael of snow, and yet they do not injure one another, because God made peace between them. How much more, so then, do mortal beings, among whom all these dispositions exist, have need of peace? So, when we are doing Kabbalah Shabbat, when we're welcoming the Shabbat, those who practice Judaism, we sing a song called Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, don't confuse it with the Havenu Shalom Aleichem. This is Shalom Aleichem. And Shalom Aleichem basically is a prayer and a song at the same time, which we are welcoming the angels in peace. We are called them angels of peace. And this angel basically on Shabbat, there's no battle or correction in Shabbat. So this is why we say we're welcoming you, and we'll make you, and we all basically say at the same time, depart in peace and everything, because there's nothing in Shabbat that needs to be corrected, right? Shabbat is 7 days, perfect, and that spiritual state is perfect. There's no need for correction there. And Shabbat is a piece of, or a taste of the word of God, right? The word of Atzilut, the word of correction. And that's something, that basically we're saying that, or right and or left, or Yetzirah and Yetzirah Hatov, the good inclination, bad inclination in our being, they're in peace. There's no need for them to be fighting, strife, any strife or anything like that. There's nothing there. And the same thing happened with these angels that we just talked about. They represent the left and the right. And the Creator has actually made peace between both of them in order to basically, it's about the balance of the energy. You cannot have a negative force and a positive force, and this is talking about electricity, be one bigger than the other one. You got to have that balance in order to bring light, right? So this is what it is all about. Then he says, Rabbi Ishmael said, great is peace, for we find that the Holy One, blessed is He, permitted His name, though written in holiness, to be blotted out in water. So remember that water means mercy in Kabbalah. So whenever we see the word water means mercy. So here we see that peace was so great, peace is so important, that even the Creator is permitting His holy and divine name to be erased, blotted out of mercy, right? Out of basically giving us the opportunity to bring that balance. And later we're gonna see that even His name is Shalom, like we just said. He called Him Hashem Shalom, and this is from Shoftim chapter 6, 24. Right? So that's how we need to see this word. Is not just a word that is just something that we pray about constantly, and something that we are looking because it's going to give us a good feeling, something like that. So we're always praying for peace, right? We always want peace. And peace is something that, as we're going to see, it's basically the medicine in order to heal what we call the breach of the covenant when it's broken by a human being. So let's continue reading from Derek Eretz Sutta, Perek Shalom. And he says, Rabbi Joshua of Siknin said in the name of Rabbi Levi, great is peace, for all benedictions and prayers conclude with peace. So listen to this, because if you practice Judaism and you do these prayers, you're going to see, we pray a lot about peace. But then we pray, but we don't pay attention to why this word is mentioned in this prayer so much. It says here, in the case of the benediction of the Shema, in the morning service, 2 benedictions precede the Shema, and 1 benediction follows it. In the evening service, 2 precede and 2 follow it. 1 concludes with peace, Blessed art thou, O Lord, right? Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the tabernacle of peace, right? The Mishkan Shalom, Shalom. The conclusion of the second benediction after the Shema in the evening service on Shabbat and festival, in the case of prayers, meaning the Amidah, the standing prayer, one concludes with Shalom, with peace. Blessed art thou, Lord, who makes peace, right? Shalom. Where this formula is now used only during the penitential season, though originally said on all occasions. Then it says V and H includes, but Gra deletes. So these are, basically some opinions here about the benediction of the Kohanim concludes with peace and give them peace. So whenever when it talks about the benedictions of the Kohanim, it's we call it the Yevarechecha. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha, Ya'ar Adonai panav elecha ve'yichunecha, Yisah Adonai panav elecha, ve'yasem Shalom, and ends with Shalom. And that's why this is very important, because it's always, that word is somehow like a key. And you're going to see that this word basically, that's what it is, a key towards spiritual completeness. Then he continues here saying, how Joshua Levi said, the Holy One, blessed is he, said to Israel, you have brought about the destruction of my temple and the dispersion of my children. Pray therefore for the peace of Zion, and I will give you peace. So something very important that we need to keep in mind is that when you read about the destruction of the Second Temple, the rabbis, they say that the destruction of the temple came to be because of unfounded hatred, right? Unfounded hatred, even though Israel was very successful at the time, even under the Roman Empire, was basically destroyed because of unfounded hatred. People finding ways to divide themselves and talking bad about each other, bringing sometimes bad accusations of other people within the community, and that actually made the holy divine presence of the Creator was inhabiting that place to live. And in this way, the destruction of the temple happened. And just look at what happened back then, when there was this divisiveness and this talking about each other in a negative way, and not for the sake of heaven, but for the sake of power and egoistic desires. It brought the destruction, probably the most sacred structure and tool that the people of Israel had at that time to connect to the Creator, because at that time everything was based on the service of the temple. Imagine what can happen now that we don't have a physical temple, we don't have anything, that right now we have to build that out of trying to connect with each other, even with these divisions that we see inside the land of Israel about politics and other things. The divisions that we see in the United States and other countries about left and right, and about even the pandemic, which I find kind of like weird. The people that used to believe in science all of a sudden don't believe, and the people that don't believe in science all of a sudden believe, and now they're contradicting each other simply because they want to be right and they think they're right? But at the end, everybody's wrong, right? Everybody don't want to see the other person's, point of view. They don't put themselves in the position or in the shoes of other people to judge that way. And in this way, they bring judgment and they bring calamity. That's why we have the plagues, and these plagues sometimes, instead of going away, even if we can have the biggest power on earth, meaning like the most advanced science to get rid of these plagues, they will continue coming, because it's not based on science only. It's based on the way we are relating with each other, with nature and the Creator. And this divisiveness is going to bring more destruction, like it happened in the times of the temple that bring basically the dispersion of the children of Israel. But then at the same time, the Creator is telling us, that there's a solution for it. Pray therefore for the peace of Zion, and I will give you peace. So the Creator is saying peace is there. It's there for you to grab it. He's not saying, something that you need to go and get it and it's hard to achieve. It's achievable, And let's continue reading here. It says, so Gra, V and H read, I will forgive you. As it is stated, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and it also declares, peace be within thy walls. And it is also stated, for my brethren and companions' sake, I will now say, peace be within thee. Right? So understand that Jerusalem is not only a city, Jerusalem also represents our heart. So pray for the peace in your heart. Pray for those two sides of your nature to start working together for the sake of heaven, and pray that will manifest towards your fellow human beings and fellow creatures in planet Earth. And from there you will see that the Creator will manifest all that we are basically designed, which is basically just living in balance with nature. So nature, it doesn't have to give us these blows that we're receiving constantly simply because we're not getting along or we're looking for divisioness, right? He says, as for him who loves peace, pursue peace, and gives the greeting of peace and respond with peace. The Holy One blesses he, will cause him to inherit the life in this world and life in the world to come. As it is stated, but the humble shall inherit the land and delight themselves in the abundance of peace. So those of you who are basically, if you visit, synagogue, or you're religious, meaning Orthodox or something like that, sometimes the way of saluting a person when you see them is shalom. We call it shalom, right? Shalom, peace, shalom. Shalom aleichem. And the other person salutes back, aleichem shalom. Even in Shabbat, when we go to the synagogue, we go Shabbat shalom, right? So shalom is an important word, like I mentioned before, because it's a key to connect to something that is very spiritual. It's just that we have taken this word and we put it now. Peace is just about when there's a war, we just want peace and we work for peace. And it's beyond that. The wars that are manifesting in the physical realm are already happening within ourselves. Everything that is manifesting outside is because it's already, we have created that within ourselves, within the inner selves of humanity. And when they manifest out, we try to fix it outside, when in reality we have to fix it inside. It's like we're fixing the symptoms when the illness is really inside ourselves, okay? And that's why it is important to understand this word, because this shalom, this medicine that the Creator has given us, start in here. And what we're going to see is the following. In the beginning, when we read the book of Genesis, what we're going to find is that the first word in the book of Genesis is Bereshit. Bereshit. It says Bereshit bara Elohim, right? And in the beginning God created. Bereshit bara Elohim. For each of these letters, there's a word. So this is an acronym, right? And that acronym basically is Tikkun Brit Yeh Ohev Protev Shalom. Connecting an alliance will be through loving and pursuing peace. Right? And that's what we're talking here about, the pursuit of peace. The defilement of the Brit, the defilement of the covenant, empowers an evil spirit called Machlokets. This evil spirit, Machlokets, means controversy and debate, not for the sake of heaven. And this entity, this force, is a force that can manifest in two ways. It can manifest in a way that is for the sake of heaven, and it can manifest also for the sake of the evil inclination, the ego, or what we call the Satan, right? When it is for the sake of heaven, it's when there are arguments. These arguments are basically in order to advance the spiritual connection and the spiritual development of humanity. And a good example of this is the debates between Hillel and Shammai. Everybody knows that Hillel represents the side of mercy, and Shammai the side of justice. But these two somehow were balanced because it was for the sake of heaven. They were looking, both of them, for a connection with the higher realms, right? They were not looking for who was better, who was worse. It was just different approaches towards the same goal, okay? However, this same force, machlokes also can manifest as not for the sake of heaven. Basically, this spirit can also serve as a entity that will bring distress within the community. And a good example is what happened when we read the Bible, right? The book of Moses. What happened between Korah and his followers and Moses. So Korah wanted to replace, and his father wanted to replace, right, Moshe and some of the priests, right? So he wanted to basically take over because he thought he was better. So this was not a debate with or aim at the same goal like Hillel and Shammai. This was a debate that was based on I am better, and because I'm better, you need to move to the side because I'm the one who's going to take over from now on, right? And that's not, that's the ego, that's the Satan basically in us trying to tell the Moshe, the spiritual side of our being, it's like you're not good enough, I can do better than this. And that's something, that happens today a lot. A lot of people compete to see, who's better, and compete, especially, when you go to the world out there in any job that you have. You're gonna see people stepping on each other's toes. People basically not caring for each other because they care more about position or competing for a position, but they don't care who they're hurting on the way and things like that. Those are controversies and debate that are not for the sake of heaven. Those are for the sake of egoism, for the sake of the Satan. Okay? And we don't want to give force to that. So the arguments that we're having right now, when you look at the news and everything about politics, about the vaccine, about all these things like between, let's say, peace between other countries or war between other countries and that kind of stuff, about if we should or not eliminate certain things in order to help with the heating of the planet, to mitigate that effect, so our future generations, meaning our children and our children's children, can enjoy this planet in a way that we did. These are not for the sake of heaven, because we're not aiming at the same goal. At the end, we're aiming at different goals. Some are aiming for the sake of helping sincerely and honestly, and others are aiming simply because they want to be right. They think they're right, and they just want to win the debate without thinking about the consequences of winning that debate, because winning doesn't mean that you're right. It just means that you just won the debate because maybe you have the tools in order to, in this case, like it happens in some places, by the judge, and the judge will judge, your favor, okay? And we have to be careful with that, because that's not what we want. We want the machlokes of the sake of heaven, lishma, right? No lishma. We want the lishma for the sake of heaven, like Hillel and Shammai. We argue, but we want the same thing. We want to achieve connection with the Creator. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, the defilement of the breed empowers the evil spirit, machloket. So this is telling you, that in Bereshit, it's telling you, or it's giving you the key of the worst thing that we can do, which is using our tongue in order to hurt others, whether by saying or assuming things without having all the information. But also, when we use our tongue without thinking, we're destroying our connection with the Creator. We're destroying our connection with the Creator when we destroy our connection with other human beings. We destroy our connection with other human beings when inside ourselves we have this internal conversation in which we're already debating these things in our head and creating some kind of a script in our mind of what we're going to say so we can defend our point of view and win the debate, even if that means not looking at what the other person or all the people have to tell you, right? And this breaks or defiles the brit, the covenant. But correcting an alliance, correcting the brit, the covenant will be through loving and pursuing peace. So you have to learn how to love yourself. Learn how to love others, and then you can say, I love God. And through that, you will achieve peace. And that's the whole message of the Torah. That's the whole message of Kabbalah. So if you want to learn Kabbalah, Kabbalah is not about Keter is up there, Malchus down here, Chesed over here and there. Those things are important to learn, but the most important thing is your relationship with other human beings. Being a good human being. And manifest that. That's how you manifest the love of the Creator on earth where you're living, right? So think about that, okay? Now, the word shalom. Let's look at the word shalom, okay, for a while. And the word shalom, it's a very interesting word, basically, to learn. Let me erase this here. Okay, now. The word shalom consists of 4 letters. The letter Shin, letter Lamed, letter Vav, and Mem Sofi. So it's a Mem, it's just a final Mem, which is written close, right? So the word Shalom has a numerical value of 376. That's the numerical value of that word. When we add 6 plus 7, which is 13, plus 3 is 16. 16, when you write it, is a Vav, which is 6, and a Yod, which is 10. So you have Yod and Vav, that's 10, and 6 is 16. Those 2 letters belong to the name of the Creator, Yohe, and the Vav and the He, right? So it's the Yod, the Vav, but without the He, right? And if you add those 2 He basically are 10, right? It's 5 and 5. So 16, when you add the 6 and the 1, give you 7. 7 is the first letter for the word or the name Zerampin. And Zerampin is called a small face. Zerampin is the 6 Sefirot that are that compose actually Zerampin, which is Chesed, Geburah, Tifaret, Nesach, Hod, and Yesod. However, the Zain, the numerical value is 7. So if it's Serampin and it's telling me that they start with 7, what does this mean? This means that this over here, Serampin, in reality is a reality system that needs to connect to something else. It needs to connect to Malchut. It needs to be some kind of a channel, a conduit that will transmit something to Malchut, all right? So in order to create that channel, we have to connect to something called Bina, which is a desire for us to connect to a altruistic system, spiritual system. in order to attract that light to Malchut, which is an egoistic system, and transform it into, like the first Hey, into an altruistic system. And this is an internal work, but once we do it internally, we can manifest that outside as well. Okay? And we're going to see is the following. Inside this serampin, even though it says 7, you may find 7 as well. You might find that there's a pseudo sephira that is formed in the top of Tiferet, and that pseudo sephira is called the At. It's right here in between Chokmah and Bina. When Chokmah and Bina unite, meaning or Chokmah is surrounded by Or Hasidim, because Or Hasidim basically is like a conduit, like a pipe through which that light can go through. You cannot receive Or Chokmah without Or Hasidim, because if there's no light of mercy, we break, right? So you need to have that coating in order for that light to come down properly, and that's when the union of what we call Ava Ve'ima, or Chokmah and Bina happens. That's when we have that, and that in our physical reality is basically the breath of the tongue, Pei, right? The word Pei has a numerical value of 85. This is Pei and Hey, 85, and has the same numerical value of Milah. Milah is circumcision. Mein Yod Lamed Hey. So the breath of the tongue, the breath of the mouth, right? Speech, has a lot to do with the circumcision. Why? With the tongue, we have this act of communication, this act of transmitting some type of ideas and information. Also creates. The Creator, it says in the book of Bereshit, that He spoke, He said, and it was done, right? It was created, formed, right? And with the tongue, we do the same thing. We create. In fact, the Kabbalah teaches that every word that you say, be careful, because every word forms an angel, right? So you want to create good angels, not bad angels. So you gotta take care of your tongue. Now, we have the breath of the tongue, then we have Tifaret, right? And we have the circumcision, which is Yesod, right? Yesod is also a system in which it creates. Yesod is basically that conduit that gives to Malchut, to give to the feminine side, and creates in our physical reality. A man and a woman come together properly, and they create the body and bring down a soul to planet Earth, right? Hopefully they do everything well. They bring down, an advanced soul that will help humanity advance spiritually. But that's how this system works. And what we're gonna see is that this Yod and the Vav is basically Chokmah, and Chokmah is desire to give. Bina receives, but it receives in order to give, and that's the first Hey. So we need to start putting these two Hey that are here in between these two letters, the Yod and the Vav, in order to complete this system. Once we start working on, okay, instead of receiving for the self, instead of thinking that I am the biggest, I am the smartest, I am the best, what if I'm a little bit more humble and I start looking that in reality there's a lot of evil in me that I need to change, that I need to transform into a altruistic desire that receives, like this head receives in order to give. And when that happens, that's through prayer, right? Prayer is something important. That's when we pray, we're supposed to enunciate the words and not just read them. Because through that we're creating this, we're doing this connection with the forces of the light of Chokmah and the light of mercy. And then we can transfer that to the Vav, and the Vav is also a giver. So here we have a desire to receive I will not receive unless it is for the sake of giving. So these desires, this is like being in Yom Kippur. We will not eat, we will not do anything because of that day. That day, it has nothing to do with the body, it has to do with spirituality. And that's what we need to be on that level, right? Then after that, we start receiving, but now we're receiving in order to balance the whole thing, in order to bring down heaven to earth. Or, depending how you see it, or elevate earth towards heaven, elevate this hay to the level of the Bina, right, which is a level, altruistic level. But that only can happen if we correct ourselves in this level. If we correct ourselves in this level, we're correcting the breed. We're correcting that fissure, that brokenness in our relationship with the Creator, because we don't get along with each other, right? So we need to guard our tongue. Make sure we guard our tongue, and we have to make sure also we guard our circumcision. We have to make sure, that we're doing the right thing, that we have the right relationships with those that we love the most, right? That we respect them, that we're not doing things out of the relationships that we promise we're gonna have, for life and things like that, right? So now, and remember, breathe of the tongue. You talk, you create angels. When there's a spill of seed, when man spills seed, which is has to do with circumcision, this also, creates not angel but demons. It's a spill. It has to be contained, right? It has to be given. It has to have a container. So that's why this is important to guard the breed in that sense. Now, when we look at the letters Zayin, right, as we say, has to do with seramping. Seramping inside, we're gonna read a little bit, has what we call an olive tree. And we know that out there in the secular world, and we see it, they use a lot the olive branch as a symbol for peace. And also they use the dove because of the symbolism of the dove that brought the olive branch when Noah, started sending birds in order to see if there was dry land. So this is a symbol of peace, today. But also, this has a different symbol. So olive, the word for olive is sight. And from the olive we get oil, which is shemen. Now, with the oil in ancient times, and even in modern times as well, we use the oil to anoint, right? And we say that the Messiah is an anointed person, an anointed being. So we call him Mashiach, right? So what we have is the following. Inside the word Lemashuch and Mashiach, anoint and Messiah, you will find the Vav and the Yod that we're talking, that actually give us a numerical value, from the word Shalom, right? So anointing a Messiah. Now you're going to say, do we really need the Messiah then in order to complete this thing? In reality, it is that the Messiah needs to come first to you in order to manifest itself outside. We need to unite first and create the proper proper critical mass of people coming together in order to manifest the Messianic age. So, like we mentioned, sight, olive, shemen, oil, Lemashiach, anoint, and Mashiach, Messiah. Now, oil, shemen, when you add the letter Hey, it creates the word Mishnah, okay? Mishnah. So you just move the mem to the front, it creates the word Mishnah. The Mishnah has 6 sections equal to the 6 sefirot of seramping that we talked before, right? The seramping here. So what we see is, that there's a relationship. So when we study the Mishnah, we need to keep in mind that that's what we're doing. We are basically working or studying about this system. And that is not only about studying about conversations between rabbis and about the halakha or law and things like that. of the commandments of the Bible. It's about this system and these desires that we need to correct and how to correct them properly, how to bring them into fruition, right? So inside this system, that's where we're gonna find the key of for the word Shalom, and to bring basically the Messianic age, which will bring us Shalom. Now, the Abir Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Buchaseira, he says that, let's go back to this part here where we are talking about machlokes, that this evil spirit called machlokes, which is controversy, wage war against holiness and confounds the place that is meant to bring peace. But then he says, if a person does the Shubah by promoting peace, he revealed that which has been ruined. So let's say if you are a person that is involved in a controversy, but you start working to bring in peace, then this angel or this evil spirit start working in favor to restore, what was broken. He says also that Torah study also atones for these sins of bringing, of not bringing peace to earth. And the Zohar state that Torah is peace. So by promoting peace and the study of Torah, we bring peace to the world. We correct the sins of the breach of the covenant. And as it is written, and this is written on Midbar 25:12, Exodus 25:12, I grant him my brit of peace, my covenant of peace. Okay? So, when the people of Israel get involved in controversies and start dividing themselves and behaving basically like the nations in an egoistic and selfish way, they defile the covenant. And this makes the sparks of holiness to be scattered, and they reach the sitra achra, the evil inclination, and impurity. To the degree that these sparks are so scattered, that creates exile in the people of Israel, meaning that when this happened, they basically separate more than from what we call the land of Israel, which is holiness, spirituality. But when we work to start bringing those parts together, we are basically bringing them through peace. We have to bring peace, love, and unity among the people of Israel in order for these parts to come back together and actually become basically this source of light for our spiritual development. For this reason, it's important that everything that has to do with this unity, strife, and rage among us, that we keep it to ourselves and we try as much as possible to guard our breed. We might have a different opinion, but if we say something, we have to measure and see, is it going to hurt somebody else? Is it going to build? Is it going to, do something that is going to be better for the world? Or is it going to be something that is going to create more division? And it says that the breed of speech is the same as the Brit Milah, the breed of the circumcision. When we guard our speech and we refrain from Lashon Hara, from evil tongue, we correct the sins of the Brit Milah as well. So we can see that the word pay, which is equals to Milah in Gematria, are related, according to Rabbi Yaakov Buchaseira. Also, it's very important to understand that the unity among the students of Torah and Kabbalah is important. Why? Because it says, and this is from Psalm 45:8, you love righteousness and hated evil. Therefore, Elohim your God anointed you with oil of joy from among your peers. We talk about oil, right? Shemen. So it is said that in the past, and actually this psalm is actually prophecy of what was going to happen with the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which is the source of what Rabbi Yochai said in Lag BaOmer. But we know that in the past, when in the times of Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students who died between Pesach and Shavuot because they failed to respect each other and they didn't basically love each other. They were using the machloket for the sake of heaven, and this thing they did it for not the sake of heaven, but for the sake of who was better, who knew more, and things like that. And the word was then desolated of Torah study until Rabbi Akiva taught just 5 more students. Among them, it was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. If the 24 students of Rabbi Akiva would have, respected each other, they would have actually been peers or friends or people that will be working together with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And imagine if those 24,000 students and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai were working together around that time, the Messianic age would have come at that time, right? So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, aware of this danger because of what happened to the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva, he warned his own students to cherish and nurture the bonds of brotherhood that connects them, right? This is from Zohar, volume 3, page 59b. And we know that, when we look at Zohar and we look at the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, they represent the 10 Sefirot, to make sure that this tree of life, sticks together constantly. And it is unity between this tree of life, between these 10 students, will bring harm to the world. Okay, so this is how it's important. Now, when we talk about the evil tongue and Lashon Hara and things like that, it's very important because humiliating others, this is when we read the Gemara, Metzia, page 58b, he says, it was said before Rabbi Nachman Bar Yitzchak that anyone who humiliates another person in public is considered as if he has spilled blood. And we see that a lot. And mostly now with social media. Social media was supposed to be a place where people would connect, share, and things like that. Now it has become a place where people are bullying each other. People are saying things about each other. They're voicing their opinion, but they're voicing their opinion with carelessness. It's an opinion based on and this is who I am. Whether you like it or not, this is who I am, and things like that. And that's not how it's supposed to be used, And this is when we see, a neutral force being used for evil, right, or for good. In this case, it's more people using it for evil and vanity than anything else. So it then says, Rabbi Nachman answered, you speak truly. When a person is humiliated, his face pales as if he was drained of his blood. Then Abaye, who lived in Babylon, asked Rav Dimi, in Eretz Israel, which of the commandments are the most careful to observe? And he answered, they are careful not to embarrass others, since Rabbi Hanina taught that all those who descend to Gehinnom are freed in the end, except for 3 who are never freed: an adulterer, it has to do with the breed of the circumcision, right? Someone who publicly humiliates another, and someone who calls another by a derogatory nickname, even if he is already used to it. So this is the breed of the mouth, right? The tongue. Then he says, Rabba Bar Hana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that it would be better for a person to have relations with a woman under a doubt that she might be married to someone else, as it happened between David and Bathsheba, rather than publicly humiliate someone. From where do we know this? As Rabbah taught, from the verse, when I limp, they gather to rejoice. They caught me, and I do not bleed. David HaMelech, David the king, said, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Master of the universe, it is known before you that if they will cut my flesh, my blood will not drip to the ground. Even as we study Negaim and Ohalot, complicated Torah subjects, that means, they asked me, David, what is the law for someone who has relations with a married woman, insinuating the incident between him and Bathsheba? And I answered them, he is punished with death by strangulation, but he has a portion in the world to come. However, someone who publicly humiliates another, as you have just done, has no portion in the world to come. Then he says that Mar Sutra Part 2, in the name of Rav, it would be better for a person to throw himself into the fiery furnace rather than humiliate another person in public. As we learn from Tamar, who was willing to brave death of burning rather than expose Yehuda after he laid with her, right? So these are things, that are very important, because even when we know that other people are wrong or we're right, that doesn't give us the right to humiliate that person publicly or anything like that, or even call them names or just put things, in our case, the modern age, social media, to humiliate other people. For example, a good example of that is people that vaccinate. They believe in vaccinating against COVID-19. And you have people on social media putting in the profile pictures, I don't care if you're vaccinated, and it's like, why you have to do that? That doesn't help at all, and what's the point? Why are you gaining? And it's all about the ego, the Satan inside us that makes us feel good because we think we're right, and we think because we think we're right, we think that at the same time that give us the right to humiliate others and treat them that way. All right, so there's a lot more. We're already on 1 hour. I'm trying to do this in an hour and a half because there's a meditation that I also want to do concerning Shalom. Okay, but before we do the meditation, it's very important to understand this: is that the word Shalom is much more than just a word. The word Shalom has to do with Shelema. Shelema means completeness, right? It has to do with basically us uniting, becoming one, working together in order to gather all these sparks, and that all these sparks are basically raised and put together only if we pursue friendship and love for one another instead of looking for anything that divides us. Okay, very important to understand also is that is something that I was going to explain, but I think it's too advanced. It has to do with writings of the Ari, how inside here basically there's a menorah. The menorah is in the Parsuk Nukba of Serampim, which is this here, right? Marhut. And in the beginning it's back to back, meaning they're not connected. And it's rectified only through the sub-Sefirot, or the Sefirot that are inside of Chesed, within Nesach and Chod. So the Chesed inside Chod and Nesach, correct that Nukba. And I don't want to confuse people what's really happening, but this is, has to do with what we call peace, right? And how it manifests, that system manifests light, or bring that light of peace into our world. And this chesed that is basically channel from appear, from this hey to this vav, is then channeled through Nesach and Chod, through their chesed, mercy, not the judgment, and then they go from the Ad all the way down, right, to Yesod. Now, they descend quickly, and they in Yesod of Iman, now it goes, deeper and things like that. But it's through Yesod, through this brit, of the circumcision that we actually bring peace to the world. And it has nothing to do with the sexual organ. Yesod, the foundation, means also tzaddik, a righteous person, by becoming righteous, by doing the right thing. By basically, tzaddik means, to make things right, right? A person that makes things right, and that's what we want to become. We want to be, that channel, that conduit that will bring the light of Shalom in earth. We will be instruments of that Shalom. We'll be basically a system like the tree of life within ourselves, and when we unite to others, that will bring down that light to the Nukhba, the life of peace and harmony and completeness. Shalema will complete the tree of life like it is supposed to be. All right. All right. So let's now concentrate on for a while and do a meditation. I'm gonna see if every time we have a teaching, we can have a meditation so we can internalize the things that we learn. So let's start by first, if you're sitting down, to make sure that you are comfortable on a chair, or if you need to, you can lay down. And once you lay down, or once you're comfortable in your chair, start breathing deep 7 times. Do not force the breathing, but do it 7 times. Try, as you continue breathing after the 7 deep breaths that you took, try now to relax your body, relax your face, your shoulders, your arms, your torso, your hip, your legs, all the way to the sole of your feet. Now when you're ready, visualize a Star of David in the top of your head. In the middle of this Star of David, visualize the letter Shin, the letter Lamed, the letter Vav, and the letter Mem. Also visualize these letters with a tongue of fire on the top of them. Now visualize how a line of light comes down to your head. It goes all the way down and stops in the place of your throat. That place of the throat is the place of the covenant of speech, or the tongue. Now imagine how that light goes down all the way to your heart, to your liver, and goes all the way down to the place of the Brit Milah, the covenant of the circumcision, the place where your sexual organs are. Feel the warmth of that light as it feels and impregnates your body. Now imagine the Star of David on top of your head with the letters Shin, Lamed, Vav, and Mem, which form the word of Shalom, descending down to your head, all the way down, until you see the word Shalom in the middle of your torso, with one of the points of the star, the top one, right at the place of your throat, and the bottom tip of the star in the place of the Brit Milah, the circumcision. Meditate on the word Shalom. You're gonna have thoughts coming and going. Thoughts that are gonna try to take you away from this meditation. Do not fight them. That's the whole point of Shalom, peace. Not to fight, but to know that it's okay to have these thoughts, because it is how the Yetzirah try to survive, try to put pressure, try to take you away by making you fight. But with Shalom, these thoughts will come down, will be quiet. As you practice this meditation constantly, you will see how every time your mind is more quiet and more quiet, because it will start using the energies, it will start manifesting the energies of Shalom, peace. Meditate on how this energy of Shalom can bring peace between the good and bad inclination within yourself, and how it will make these two inclinations work together for the sake of the Creator. How this Shalom, this light, this name of God, can work inside yourself in order to transform the evil inclination into a partner, instead of a negative and evil, into a partner with the same goal of connecting or helping you connect with the light and the Creator. Meditate on how this peace that you have found within yourself, this Shalom within yourself, within your heart, can be manifested outside towards other human beings and other creatures. And when you do this, know that when you manifest Shalom and you make Shalom with others, that you are pursuing peace, the Creator will grant it, because it is one of His greatest gift and names. When you do this, by connecting with other people, by loving other people, doesn't matter the differences, by looking at what unites you, you will see that in this way you're also loving the Creator, that you're connecting more and more with the Creator. And by doing this, the sparks of light that were scattered all over the world and are under the influence of the klipots will be free. And once they're free, they will rise and help every human being advance spiritually. When this happens, we will manifest the Messianic age. We need to become that conduit, that seramping, that pipe that needs to be constructed in order for the light to go through it and come down to earth. We need to be that tool that will bring down heaven to earth, or elevate earth to heaven. We'll connect Binah with Malchut and Malchut with Binah. But this can only be achieved if we achieve peace, Shalom. Now when you're ready, take 7 deep breaths. Continue breathing and come back slowly, opening your eyes. And as you open your eyes, imagine how this light that you brought to your body, this Star of David with the word Shalom, is inside you, that you kept it as a treasure, and a treasure that you're going to share with the rest of the world. Practice this meditation as much as possible. Write down, if you want, a journal of the thoughts and the things that you have received as you make this meditation. Once you learn it, you can add more time. You can practice this meditation together with others. But as you practice this meditation more and more, you will see the change within yourself and how you perceive others as well. Hope you have enjoyed the meditation. Make sure you practice this meditation daily if possible. Like I said, I'm going to try to see if we can add meditations on some of the teachings and lessons that we're going to have. Make sure you visit our website, www.receivingtheupperlight.com, in which we have all the videos in YouTube. Instead of you looking in YouTube and trying to see if you can find this video, now you can go to the website and the link is there to the YouTube video. It's easier to go there and study the weekly portion. There's videos there about lessons for the high holidays, other holidays as well. There are lessons there about introduction to Kabbalah, intermediate Kabbalah. And we recently started a new Spanish channel, Recibiendo la Luz Superior. And it's also in Facebook, both Receiving the Upper Light and Recibiendo la Luz Superior. We have a group in Facebook that you can also join us there and share with us, and your insights on what you have learned. Okay? So I'll leave you with this nice meditation. Make sure you continue with shalom, with peace, and that you manifest that shalom and peace. And remember, let's look for the things that unite us. There's a lot more. When you really look at another person, there's a lot more that unite us, that we have in common as human beings, than things that separate us. But we pay more attention to these things that separate us. So let's bring peace. It's about time to, for us to bring peace. And this way we're going to see that governments will start uniting and peace will be made among themselves. And also we'll see that all this pandemic, all these plagues and things like that are happening will disappear, because Lashon Hara brings plagues. A good example, it's go to the Torah and you're going to see what happened to Miriam when she spoke bad about Moshe. She suffered from skin illness. And what happened to the 10 spies that went to the land of Israel and spoke basically bad about the land of Israel? That brought us all the way to today, the 9 of Av, right? Which is a day of basically a sad day that needs to be turned into a good day, a day of gladness. And the same thing with Korah and the companions of Korah. And it's still happening today between not only the Jewish people, the people of Israel, but also between the Gentiles as well. We need all to unite and look for that love and connection among ourselves, pursuing peace and shalom. Okay? So I'll leave you there. And until then, shalom. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Out.